Thanks to the power of video games, you can boogie to your heart's content without the judgment of others. Well, except your pets. Hey, it's Game Rant, and here are the 10 best dance games ranked. Number 10. Beat Saber. Combining music and VR is a natural concept, but take a look at the general state of rhythm games on platforms like PSVR 2 or MetaQuest, and there are hardly any real winners. Thankfully for headset owners, there's already one clear champion in the space, and that's even when compared with non-VR games. Beat Saber, much as the name implies, challenges players to use a series of lightsaber-esque swords to the beat of music. If VR is indeed about immersion, then we suggest Beat Saber is a major success for getting us all lost in the music. And best of all, it runs on practically everything, so if you have a VR headset for the past few years, you'll definitely want to give this one a look. Number 9. Space Channel 5. One of the highlights of the Sega Dreamcast, Space Channel 5 is one of the most original and compelling concepts for a video game. The game stars Ooh La La as a news broadcaster from, you guessed it, Space Channel 5, who is live on the scene to investigate an alien invasion causing humans to, dance. Yeah, there's no real clear threat, but as an added wrinkle, in the future, news broadcasters are also part-time superheroes, rescuing citizens along the way. Imagine your local news anchor firing off a few rounds for ratings. It's probably not too far off. This game absolutely deserves a remake because for all of our praise, it couldn't go higher because it simply plays terribly. Find a good pair of headphones and a hitbox and you'll be golden. Everyone else, be patient. Number 8. Unison, Rebels of Rhythm and Dance. Another case of a game being simply way too hard, but way too interesting to be ignored, is Unison Rebels of Rhythm and Dance. A hyper-cartoony game that we're surprised didn't result in an expanded media output like TV shows or merchandise like dolls. In this future, dancing is outlawed, but these three girls decide they will break the law. Complex, it is not. But the execution is so fully realized, we're inclined to give it a pass. So what makes the game so hard? Well, you essentially have to memorize the entire dance routine, as after the training sequence, the only hints you'll be given are from a tiny window on the screen. And even then, you'll be guessing unless you have complete recall. Again, A for commitment. Number 7. Dance Dance Revolution Mario Mix. When Dance Dance Revolution Mario Mix launched on the GameCube, it was criticized for its lack of pulse-pounding DJ hits, instead regularly dipping into the all-too-familiar sound of public domain music. Ugh. But this was a time when the world was lush with DDR games. These days, not so much. But the Mario-tinged version of the Konami arcade classic, complete with mini-games and special mechanics, has aged into a respectable curiosity for fans, and a collector's item if you have the scratch. Each and every dance has been tangentially connected to a story, where Mario battles the likes of Waluigi to save the Mushroom Kingdom. That's right, you get to see Waluigi dance. Wow. Number 6. Pump It Up Exceed SE. Truth be told, not all of us were familiar with Pump It Up Exceed SE, as it looked like nothing more than a cheap DDR clone. But boy were we were right in some aspects, but Pump It Up absolutely earns its spot for its unique 5-button setup, and much more eclectic sounds of the then contemporary Korean pop, rap, and club music scenes. Considering K-pop was several years away from going mainstream in the West, this unique snapshot in time will likely introduce you to some new earworms. May we suggest the Booty Song? If nothing else, Pump It Up Exceed SE is a contender for one of the hardest intro cutscenes ever. Just look at this thing. Would you even know it's a dancing game? Number 5. Dance Central. This entry is for the whole of the Dance Central franchise, as despite their best efforts to rationalize their sequels, it was usually a very glossy expansion to the core gameplay, which was, of course, to dance. Except this game utilized the impressive and often derided technology of the Xbox Kinect to read body placement and, more so than any other game on this list, actually teach someone how to dance. In fact, it's so good, it's a shame Harmonix has clearly moved back to their classic rock band style, as Dance Central makes a strong case not only for dancing games, but the Xbox Kinect itself. How many games can say that? Number 4. Just Dance. Okay, we hear you hardcore gamer people. How on earth can Just Dance be on our list? Well, despite our reservations of playing one of these passive screensavers ever again, we cannot deny that dancing games are still very popular to this day. And when we say dancing games, we mean one, Just Dance. That's right, Ubisoft's Just Dance is solely responsible for keeping the dance genre alive. A game that has had so many sequels, they eventually had to stop numbering them and open an entire subscription service as well. And even if we disagree with the gameplay or lack thereof, the name is accurate. You can just dance. Number 3. DDR Max Dance Dance Revolution 1 and 2. Let's get this tidbit out of the way. DDR Max is a sub-series to the overall Dance Dance Revolution franchise, and it's likely the one that you played on the PlayStation 2 if you ever owned one of those terrible plastic pads from the late 90s. Part 1 was great for introducing next-gen owners, but let's be clear, DDR Max 2 arguably has the strongest lineup. No one can deny the power of Kind Lady, and if you've never broken down the breakdown, you need to rectify that stat, and that's an order from Captain Jack himself. Number 2. Metronomicon Slay the Dance Floor. Metronomicon Slay the Dance Floor is a very simple and silly concept. What if, instead of merely getting a good grade on playing a song well, you were in a medieval adventure straight out of your cousin's tabletop games? Complex? Again, nope, not at all. But this is essentially what games like Space Channel 5 were going for all those years ago, and yet their obtuse nature pushed far too many players away. Metronomicon Slay the Dance Floor earns a high spot merely for communicating expectations to the player, and that goes a long way when you failed out of the same song 3 times. Number 1. Dance Dance Revolution. As arcades withered in the late 90s, as the fighting game craze began to tail off for home consoles, and before the days when barcades full of emulators substituted a proper arcade, there was the era of Dance Dance Revolution, a game which created a culture from party animals to health nuts to hardcore gamers and folks who still haven't touched an actual controller. Heck, you can even see an episode of King of the Hill when Bobby gets a crush on a schoolgirl from Japan playing DDR, which is clearly why it's on this list. It's rather strange to say, but yes, there was indeed a Dance Dance Revolution, and it lives on in the basements of pros with their well-tuned dance pads. And there you have it. Those were the 10 best dance games ranked. You ready to boogie? Well, how about you bounce on down to another list here on Game Rant, and we'll see you next time.